this edition of It's a Miracle.
Teresa! Teresa! Teresa!
See the frantic search for a missing child.
He said, "Mommy, a boy has taken Teresa," and my world stopped.
Which leads to a shallow grave in a ditch filled with water.
Being a nurse, you get used to seeing people that are near death and people that have died, and I knew that Teresa was dead.
But the love and faith of a community is about to create a miracle. And a group of kids play dangerously close to the Los Angeles River.
And they think they can come across it, and it's got such force to it that it just sweeps them out of their feet, and they're gone.
A young boy falls in and is about to be swallowed into the underground tunnels unless an off-duty police officer and a mysterious stranger can perform a miracle.
We both looked at each other at the same time and said, "I got a bad feeling about this."
Then, every year there are thousands of reports of visions of Mother Mary and other supernatural aberrations.
We found very impressive consistency that cannot be explained by technological fraud.
See a group of girls on a school field trip come face to face with a miracle.
And you can see like the doorway to heaven.
And from the tropical beaches of Hawaii, a young man on vacation with his girlfriend turns his back to the sea and ends up fighting for his life.
So I swam out thinking that, this is going to be a body recovery. It's like 20 minutes and nobody saw anything.
Only a miracle can save him from the angry sea. These stories and more on It's a Miracle.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to It's a Miracle. I'm Nia Peoples.
And I'm Richard Thomas. If anyone ever needed a miracle, it was 2-year-old Teresa Johnson, whose sudden disappearance mobilized an entire community.
What you're about to see will startle you and make you think twice about the possibility of miracles.
In 1986, the picturesque farming town of Ellensburg, Washington, became home to Steve Johnson, the new pastor at a local church, and his wife Pam, a registered nurse. But within a year, their idyllic life would be shattered by a vicious crime, and it would take a miracle to put their family back together. It was the day after the Johnsons had moved into their newly purchased fixer-upper that their nightmare began. Their 2 children, Brian, 6, and Teresa, 2.5, were playing outside while their parents were inside getting settled.
I was in one of the rooms unpacking boxes, and suddenly I could hear a sound from my son that meant that he was distressed, and I ran to meet him. He came through the screen door.
Brian, honey, what's the matter?
And he said, "Mommy, a boy has taken Teresa," and my world stopped.
Brian's words sent a chill through Pam's heart.
Teresa! Teresa!
Teresa had been kidnapped.
Teresa!
Pam's husband, Steve, was in the basement when he heard her desperate cries.
Immediately, there was a bolt of adrenaline that rushed through my body. I was just determined, I've got to find my daughter.
Within minutes, Steve was in the car with Brian, frantically searching for Teresa, but the girl was nowhere to be found.
You see her?
Go and call the police.
All right.
Since their home phone had not been installed, Steve and Pam turned to their neighbors for help.
Somebody's taken my daughter off of my porch. She's been abducted. Can I use your phone?
I began going door to door, meeting my neighbors for the first time and pounding on the door and said, our daughter's just been abducted.
But no one had seen anything, and precious time was slipping away. Soon, dozens of people were scouring the neighborhood, looking for any trace of the missing girl. Teresa had now been gone for almost 30 minutes, and with each new minute that ticked by, the hopes of finding her alive grew slimmer and slimmer.
I was just sitting there thinking about the miracle of conceiving my daughter, and yet here, in 2.5 years, there was a possibility that I would never see her again.
At last, the call came in. Teresa had been found. Scott Hammond, a local paramedic, was the first to receive the news. But it wasn't good.
Civilians from the neighborhood actually discovered her under the road in the culvert under the water. They looked down past the grate and they saw something that didn't look right.
Teresa had been assaulted. She was found submerged, her tiny body weighed down with concrete blocks. Teresa had been underwater for at least 30 minutes, possibly 40. Her color was ashen gray, and she had no vital signs. By all medical accounts, Teresa was dead.
When you look in someone's eyes, you can tell if there's anyone there or not. And there was no one there when I examined Teresa's eyes in the process of working her up in the ambulance on the way to the hospital.
Teresa was rushed to the nearby Kittitas Valley Community Hospital, where her parents had just arrived.
We're gonna take her straight up to CCU.
Being a nurse, you get used to seeing people that are near death and people that have died, and what the chances are for them to return. And I knew that Teresa was dead.
Then for the Johnsons, the wait began. The excruciating wait for the news no parent ever wants to hear. As they waited, more and more people, both friends and strangers, arrived at the hospital.
So sorry. We're here.
They rallied their inner strength and community spirit behind the lifeless little girl in the adjoining room. And along with Pam and Steve, they prayed for a miracle. As they prayed, the emergency team was frantically trying to revive Teresa, refusing to give up hope. They did everything medically possible to get her heart beating again.
Everybody clear!
Clear.
And then something miraculous occurred.
We got a rhythm? Great. Check pulse.
1 full hour after she had been pulled from the water, Teresa's still heart began to beat with life. Scott emerged from the ER to give the Johnsons the incredible news.
Hi. She's regained her own heartbeat at this time, and she's got a good blood pressure and good cardiac function. She's trying to take a few breaths on her own. Okay. So something's happening. Still don't know about level of consciousness, but something's happening. Something's happening.
Thank you, Scott.
Teresa was alive, but barely. Still unconscious, she was airlifted to Children's Hospital in Seattle, where doctors gave her a 50-50 chance of staying alive, but little chance at all of having normal brain function.
I couldn't stand for that. I believed that God had begun a miracle and that God was going to complete a miracle.
Amazingly, Steve's faith in a second miracle for Teresa proved true. She awoke the next morning, recovered steadily for the next 6 weeks, and was released from the hospital. And today, she is a completely healthy, vivacious young woman.
I'm 13 now, and I like singing. Not that good at sports. I play the piano, and I like to read a lot.
I do believe this was a miracle, and I believe it was a miracle because Teresa was truly dead. The statistics are all there. And she came back, and she came back completely.
The Johnsons have finally recovered from their terrifying ordeal. And when they think back on that day,
Teresa!
Their anguish is overshadowed by warm, lasting memories of how their community rallied its strength and undying faith for one little girl, of a medical miracle that defied explanation, and of the joyful news that brought a family back together. And today, when Pam and Steve Johnson look at their children, they know their prayers were answered when little Teresa was literally brought back to life. A 16-year-old boy was eventually arrested in connection with Teresa's disappearance. He was tried and convicted. Today, he's serving a life sentence in prison. Stay with us for more incredible stories.
Coming up next on It's a Miracle. Raging water rushes through a river basin where 4 children have gone to play.
And we both looked at each other at the same time and said, I got a bad feeling about this.
A young boy falls in and is swept away by the dangerous current, and only a miracle can save him. And later, a mother has a strange premonition that she and one of her children is going to die.
Cheryl was in my living room telling me that she didn't know what it was, but she knew that her and Tammy were going to die.
After a horrible car crash, witness the miracle from heaven that saved a young girl's life. That's next, when It's a Miracle continues.
Changing their lives forever. It's a miracle.
Los Angeles, California, America's second largest city. To most people, it's a place of sunshine, movie stars, and the beach. It's also a place of earthquakes, fire, and floods. We don't often think of the natural dangers that occur in LA, especially when the danger looks like fun. Most metropolitan areas are equipped to channel rainwater off the streets, down the gutters, and into a centralized channel or wash. There may be small amounts of water flowing down the gutters, but by the time all of the runoff accumulates into the main channel, a small rainstorm can create quite a power flow through the wash. This is the Pacoima Wash in the San Fernando Valley. Despite the many warning signs, people still get dangerously close to the water, and these storm channels have taken many lives down the drain.
Being all concrete, it gets a thin layer of moss on it because water flows on this concrete year long. And that moss is the dangerous part. There's no way that you can stand up in here.
And the kids, they go across with their bikes or they try to run across it, and it might only be 2 feet deep, 3 feet deep, and they think they can come across it, and it's got such force to it that it just sweeps them out of their feet, and they're gone.
It was April 4th of 1995. A rainstorm from 2 previous days had the Pacoima Wash flowing 2 to 3 feet deep. 4 children who lived in the area were going down to take a look at the rising water level. They had snuck through a hole in the fence, and part of the excitement was that they knew they weren't supposed to be there. This part of the Pacoima Wash is a big downhill run, so the water gets moving as fast as 20 to 40 miles per hour.
Look how fast this is going. Hey, Jordan, I dare you to go across.
Since the water didn't look that deep, the kids were trying to dare Jordan in the white t-shirt to try to get across to the other side. Not too far away, best friends Mike Grosso and Rick Mansour were on their way to a sports club meeting in nearby Lopez Canyon. Passenger Mike Grosso is a Los Angeles police officer who was just coming off duty. Meanwhile, back in the wash, the kids were still trying to dare Jordan to get to the other side. He was about to give it a try when the other kids decided to give him a little help. With the swift-moving current and the slick moss on the floor of the wash, Jordan was off on a high-speed ride. Rick and Officer Grosso were just approaching a bridge. Officer Grosso just happened to look out the window to his right.
We just weren't sure. We backed up and we looked again, and it looked like some clothes or maybe somebody was in the water, and it was whipping him along. We started to drive off, and we both looked at each other at the same time and said, I got a bad feeling about this.
As they sped through traffic and wound around to the next wash overpass, Officer Grosso could see out the van window that the object he spotted earlier was coming down the wash.
I looked over the side and I saw him go underneath us, and he screamed, and I ran across and I grabbed the hole of the lock, and I've never seen that type of lock before.
Officer Grosso had keys to any LA City lock, but they were just outside the city limits. Rick sped off to another gate.
And we found this gate, and it was one thing after another was just perfect. I ran up to the gate, my key slid into this lock, the lock as if it was just placed there, brand new. It opened right up, the gate swung right up, and boom, we were off. We were racing down the side, and I kept on looking back, and I couldn't see anybody in the water, and I thought maybe we just got just ahead of them, just enough to maybe do something.
As they sped down to the water's edge, they knew they were only seconds ahead of him. A life or death decision had to be made of how to save this young boy's life.
This whole area is a downhill run, and he got up to almost 40 miles an hour on this run. I saw him coming down. I had enough time to look at Rick, yell at him to call 911. I reached down, I pulled my belt open, and I looked over, and I saw him come up out of the water, and when he came up out of the water, water was just dripping out of his mouth. It looked like he was already in shock, and that was it. I took about 3-4 steps, and I figured if I can dive into the water and get real close to him, that's the way it's gonna be. If I dive behind him, I'm gonna follow him. If I dive in front of him, he's gonna follow me. He was coming up out of the water. I took my steps and I dove.
Coming up next on It's a Miracle. The young boy is about to be swept away into underground tunnels unless the off-duty policeman and a mysterious stranger can perform a miracle. And later, a young man on a vacation with his girlfriend turns his back to the sea and ends up fighting for his life.
So I swam out thinking that, this is going to be a body recovery. It's like 20 minutes and nobody saw anything.
Only a miracle can save him from the angry sea. All that and more when It's a Miracle returns.
Los Angeles police officer Mike Grosso has placed his life on the line in an attempt to rescue a young boy. Now, in the freezing waters of the LA River, he is faced with a life-and-death decision. Off-duty officer Mike Grosso and his friend Rick Mansour have miraculously spotted a young boy floating down the Pacoima Wash in Los Angeles. They have sped ahead of his 40-mile-an-hour trip down the wash, and Mike Grosso is about to risk his life to save this young boy. He jumped in to try and keep the boy afloat.
The next thing I knew, boom, I was underwater. I was flipping around. I felt the boy in one hand, and I had something else in my other hand. And when my head cleared water, I had the boy in my left hand and a man in my right hand.
The other man was underneath the young boy in the wash. That's why Officer Grosso didn't see him. He clutched firmly to both of them as all three went down the river. Meanwhile, Mike's friend Rick Mansour had contacted 911, where they dispatched the Los Angeles City Fire Department hook and ladder from Fire Station 98 to the scene. The three continued to be swept down the wash. The third man had kept the boy afloat and literally saved his life. But who was this man, and why did he risk his life?
I kept the boy in my left hand, I kept the man in my right hand, and we raced towards the wall. About 50, 60 feet before the wall, my brain kicked in and said, if we're traveling this fast and you hit that wall, it's going to tear your arm off. And so at the last minute, I just leaned my body across. So I had the boy on one side and the man on the other side, and I hit the wall with my stomach and my chest. And all of a sudden, I was out of the water. And what had happened was the force of the water behind me had pushed me up the wall. And I grabbed the boy and pulled him up and put him in front of me.
They landed on the divider wall. The mystery man is just out of camera shot on the other side, where a fishing net is pulling him to safety.
The fishing net, a huge fishing net, and threw it over the side, and he wrapped his arms in it, and they dragged him out of the water to the side of the concrete.
The mystery man was safe, but who was he? Why did he risk his life to save this young boy? Some say he was Jordan's guardian angel, a man who appeared from nowhere and dove into a 40-mile-per-hour water current to keep the young boy afloat. An angel that appeared where no one was supposed to be and jumped in against all odds. The strange thing about this man is that after he brought Jordan to safety and was pulled from the wash, he disappeared into the background of all the rescue excitement, never to be seen again, with no recognition. The Los Angeles Fire Department lifted Jordan to safety. He had no idea that if this mystery man and Mike Grosso had not miraculously come across his plight, he was destined for an ill fate. Jordan's temperature was 89 degrees. He had lost some 9 degrees of his body temperature. Officer Grosso was brought to safety, and both he and Jordan suffered from hypothermia. They were rushed to a nearby emergency room.
Any Los Angeles police officer standing where I stood that day would have done exactly the same thing, which is true. So it's not me, it's just that someone else, someone larger than us, didn't want anything to happen to Jordan, and he set up all these dominoes to fall just the right way. Everything worked out absolutely perfect, and everybody walked away and no one was hurt.
For Jordan, the chance of his survival after falling in the wash was like winning the lottery. But for some reason, his guardian angel was waiting by the rushing current. And off-duty officer Mike Grosso completed the string of events that made Jordan's survival a true miracle.
But what about the man who first attempted to save the young boy? No one remembers seeing him after he escaped from the river. A reward was offered to him. He only had to appear. He never did. That's just one of the many mysteries that make up this miraculous story. Stay with us as It's a Miracle continues.
Coming up next on It's a Miracle. Each year, there are thousands of reports of miraculous visions around the world.
We find very impressive consistency that cannot be explained by technological fraud.
Discover what happens on a school field trip. Did these girls come face to face with a miracle?
We took the pictures of the trees, and you can see like the doorway to heaven.
And later, witness what happens to a young girl who wakes from a life-threatening coma.
Her recovery was miraculous because she could not only speak, recognized people, but she could also drink and eat, and she really was a miracle.
It's the unexplainable story of a little girl's window to heaven. All that and more when It's a Miracle continues.
Many times when a person reports a mysterious occurrence or an unexplained happening, it's called a hallucination. But when many people share the same vision in many countries around the world, it's called a miracle. And according to some, it's happening right now. Religion and miracles have always shared a common element, faith. But increasingly, people around the world are finding proof. For many, visions of the Virgin Mary are the proof. Investigations led by the Catholic Church have accredited recent visions at Lourdes, France, Akita, Japan, Zaytun, Egypt, Batanya, Venezuela, and many others.
Across the board, we see all these paranormal and supernatural happenings at a rate that I don't think has ever occurred before.
The sun was spinning and it was changing different colors and jumping back and forth, and it looked like it was coming at us.
One of the latest mystical spots is Our Lady of Valley Hills in rural Springfield, Kentucky. Here, twice a month, thousands of believers have reported seeing visions of the Virgin Mary and a peek into the world beyond. It is also here that a group of teenage girls on a field trip came face to face with a miracle.
Ian Bed, our religion teacher, took us to Valley Hill. We didn't think nothing was going to happen. We just walked up on the hill.
One of the girls looked up and said, "Look at the sun."
It had like 2 rings around it. It was pulsating. It looks like it was just going to bounce out at us.
And then the miracle touched them directly, and no one was left a non-believer.
I looked over, and Samantha had gold all over her, was on her face, on her clothes.
And then everybody just looked at each other, and we seen spots of gold on everybody, and my braces and watches. And took pictures to see the colors. And in one picture, we seen angels beside Samantha.
We took the pictures of the trees, and you can see like the doorway to heaven.
These are not isolated occurrences. Hundreds of thousands of people have witnessed similar miraculous events. Author Michael Brown has written 2 books on the Mary visions.
I began to investigate hundreds of sightings of the Virgin Mary. I thought it was a case of collective hysteria, but it didn't take long before I myself was seeing reports that convinced me, yes, something unusual is going on here. We found very impressive consistency that cannot be explained by technological fraud.
Similar reports come from a small farm in Conyers, Georgia. On the 13th of every month, housewife Nancy Fowler shares what she believes are divine messages from the Virgin Mary. She receives no money. She simply shares her gift with followers, often numbering more than 60,000.
You know, I'm not a public speaker. I have no training. I really don't consider myself very educated, very unqualified for the position that our Lord has asked me to be in. So I just try in my very simple way to explain what I'm being shown and to tell you what I hear. There's signs being given for those who need the signs. But there's a reason for it. There's an urgency within this message.
Believers flock to Conyers looking for a miracle. Often, they find it.
We came here and we saw the sun dance.
There was a cross that appeared in the sky, and it wasn't jet airplanes. It was a cross.
It was a beautiful day, and the sky was blue, and a breeze blew by us, and that was the first time that we were able to smell the scent of roses.
Whether it's sightings of angels, miraculous healings, signs in the sky, we're in the midst of a supernatural episode. Heaven is intervening in a very special way, saying, hey folks, the supernatural does exist, and it's time for you to realize that your physical reality is only one dimension of existence.
The faithful agree. The visions of Mary provide them with tangible miracles.
It said you don't understand it until you're here. And it said after the first time, it changed my life forever.
For some, these visions are so profound their lives will never be the same.
It's just like something just like paused in our life and just something just clicked in.
Just told us something.
My parents could tell that night that something changed my life.
I know they felt it. Their lives changed that very instant. They just didn't know what it would feel like to see a manifestation of heaven.
We live in an age where scientific or technological miracles are very common, but somehow the old-fashioned miracles are the most profoundly moving. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on It's a Miracle. A man is trapped inside an underwater cave. See eyewitness videotape of this amazing story.
He's alive, and your adrenaline just pumps. You know, everything just snaps, and you know, your whole body goes into a different mode.
For over 2 hours, Hawaiian rescue swimmers try to save his life. But only a miracle can save him from an angry sea. That's next, when It's a Miracle returns.
People who believe in miracles claim their lives have been irrevocably changed for the better. Some are healed, others are rescued, and many lives are fulfilled, all because of one extraordinary event for which no rational explanation exists. Many times, it isn't just one mysterious event, it's a series of unexplained occurrences. That's what happened to this man when his Hawaiian vacation became a tragedy. Hawaii, the land of sun, surf, scenery, and for one couple, a miracle. 26-year-old Hugh Alexander surprised his girlfriend Petra with a 4-day trip to the fabled beaches of Oahu. It had been the ideal romantic holiday. But before it was over, Hugh would come closer to death than he would ever want to be. Drawn to the high surf of Oahu's North Shore, Hugh and Petra wanted a scenic backdrop for a souvenir picture. It was a photo opportunity Hugh would never forget.
Right as she motioned to me to take the picture, I knew something was wrong. A bunch of spray went up into the air. It was almost like a dream. And I went over the edge, backwards, head and shoulders first. I knew there were rocks below, and the first thought that entered my mind was that I was going to land head first on these rocks. And instead I went into the water. I I could breathe sometimes when I came up to the surface, but a lot of times I was just underwater.
Then, a massive wave slammed him against the rocks and trapped him in a cave. Lifeguards Brian Chialani and Craig Davidson immediately went to help.
We got a call from our dispatch saying that we had a swimmer in distress. We thought it was a basic rescue. You know, we sped down. It takes us about 5 minutes. It's about 7 miles away. And when we got there, there's a bunch of people standing around the Moyho area. And when we got close enough to communicate with the people there and try to gain information, they were saying that this person got washed off the side of the cliff. And basically, I jumped off the ski and swam where he fell off and let, you know, the currents carry me to wherever it may. And it carried me to the opening of the cave. So I swam out thinking that, you know, this is going to be a body recovery. You know, it's like 20 minutes and nobody saw anything. You know, kind of assume the worst most of the time.
I couldn't tell if anyone heard me or not. But my plan was to yell for help after 30 minutes.
As I got closer to the cave, I heard, you know, somebody calling, you know, help me, help me. And at that point we said, he's in a cave, he's alive. And your adrenaline just pumped, you know, everything just snaps and, you know, your whole body goes into a different mode.
Hugh had been trapped in the cave for over an hour, and the pounding surf made it impossible for the rescuers to get in to save him. Then a huge set of waves forced the lifeguards to retreat. Now, only a miracle could save Hugh.
Our hang time was too long, and we stayed in there at the last possible minute, and when we punched out, punching through the waves, going back out, we hit that rock, that pinnacle, and damaged the ski and took on water.
Without a quick response vehicle, Brian and Craig were stranded far away from Hugh. Miraculously, Hugh decided to put his own plan into action.
So after about 45 minutes, I decided that I would try to get out. And the first couple of times I tried to get out of the cave, I couldn't get to the front.
The third time was lucky. Although only out for a brief moment, Hugh was given some reason for hope.
And right then I realized that if I could get out again, that somebody may grab me. Because when I was out, just for a moment, I saw some guys on a jet ski.
A second jet ski was brought to the location. Once again, Brian and Craig entered the impact zone, trying to get to Hugh.
And when he went in, we didn't hear anything, and we kept yelling. So again, we are assuming the worst again, you know, but not giving up. Just keep going and keep yelling, and then he yells back, and then adrenaline again pumps back up.
But time was running out, and Hugh's chances were getting slimmer.
Some of the waves in the second hour were so big that every time they would come, it would be like, I would have the feeling of having a concussion. My head would hit the rocks, and everything would go white, and it was unbelievably painful. I was cold, I was shaking, I felt like somebody hit me all over with a baseball bat. I was getting tired. But I kept telling myself to hold on and push harder and try and get out again.
Hugh had now been inside the cave trying to stay alive for 2.5 hours. Brian and Craig had been attempting a rescue at the mouth of the cave for almost 2 hours. There had been no response from Hugh for over 20 minutes. Then came the miracle Hugh was waiting for.
There it is, go for it. And so I did. I swam straight for the front of the cave and back down to the bottom and popped up out into the ocean, and there they were.
I threw my partner with the sled right on top of you and just locked on and then punched through that first wave and then took off. But as we punched through the first wave and we took off, he and my partner fell off. But the good thing was that he was still connected, my partner, to the ski. So all I did is just got him out of that impact zone and then circled back around and then put him on a sled, and then we brought him to the beach.
Hugh had massive abrasions to his head, arms, chest, and legs, but he miraculously survived an incredible ordeal. Even the lifeguards were amazed.
You look at the power of, you know, the surfing, you look at the situation, you go, there's no way they can survive, you know. And like I say, it's a miracle that he can survive.
For 2.5 hours, all I could see was dying. I could see no way that I was going to live. I couldn't possibly see getting out of there. I was sure the cave was going to fill up with water and that I was going to drown before I could get out.
Hugh was airlifted to a local hospital where he had plenty of time to think about how this miracle had changed his life.
I realized and have realized that my life could be over in a second. And I just try to reach my potential. I just try to enjoy each day and reach whatever potential I have in the things I do. I have no idea what to do for those guys. I think about them from time to time, but what can you do? I mean, they've given me my life.
There are many ancient sayings and legends in Hawaii. One that Hugh will always remember: never turn your back to the sea. Stay tuned for more It's a Miracle after this.
Coming up next on It's a Miracle. A mother has a strange premonition that she and one of her children is going to die.
Cheryl was in my living room telling me that she didn't know what it was, but she knew that her and Daniel were going to die.
Following a horrible car crash, witness the miracle from heaven that saved a young child's life. That's next when It's a Miracle returns.
If you could walk someone to the gates of heaven, take a peek inside, and then come home again, would you? Well, that's exactly what happened to a sweet little girl named Ashley Dial. This story of a miracle begins with a tragedy. Just before she died, Cheryl Dial went to her mother with a strange premonition.
Cheryl was in my living room telling me that she didn't know what it was, but she knew that her and Daniel were going to die. She said, I don't know what it is, but Daniel and I are going to die.
Robert and Joan Fricke retired to the peaceful little town of Herman, Missouri, to be close to their only daughter, Cheryl, and their adored grandchildren, 5-year-old Ashley and her baby brother, Daniel. Early in the afternoon of April 4th, 1992, Cheryl and some friends headed into town for Easter photos of the children. Suddenly, a car filled with men who had been drinking all night headed straight for them at 70 miles per hour. In the worst alcohol-related accident in Missouri's history, 7 people died.
When a drunk driver killed a mother and a baby boy.
Returning home, Robert and Joan found a note on the door to call their pastor.
Well, we made a few phone calls and the lines were busy. We got nothing but busy signal. And about that time, we noticed that headlights were coming down our driveway. And it was our deacon that came and broke the news to us.
Little Ashley was the only survivor. When rescue workers finally found her, she was bleeding profusely, buried alive under the crumpled dashboard and her mother's body. She had to be airlifted 70 miles to Columbia Hospital. No one thought she'd live. Her left leg was crushed, her liver severely damaged, part of her lungs collapsed, and she suffered extensive brain injuries. Ashley lapsed into a coma. It seemed as if they were losing her.
The pain, the sorrow, the hurt comes from a depth in you that you have no idea that's there. It totally rips you apart.
15 days later, and of all days, on Easter Sunday, the first miracle occurred.
Dr. Hellickson from University Hospital called. Ashley's out of the coma. So we went in the room, and Ashley says, "Hi, Grandma, hi, cramps."
Therapist Karen Moore visited Ashley daily, helping her cope with her terrible loss. From the beginning, she knew this was a special child.
Her recovery was miraculous because she could not only speak, recognized people, but she could also drink and eat, and she really was a miracle.
Then the second miracle occurred.
While we were talking to her, Ashley was faced towards us, and then she looked away from us and looked up the ceiling, and her voice was very weak and shallow, and I couldn't hear everything she was saying. But she said, "Daniel, Daniel, Mom," and she carried on a conversation with him. and smiled and would nod her head.
But when she raised her hand and went like this, and she spoke up loud enough to hear, and she was saying, "Goodbye, Mom, I love you."
"Bye, Daniel, I love you." And then turned back to us, pointed up to the ceiling. She says, "Can you see the hole? Can you see them? Can you see them?" And she kept repeating that, "Can you see them? Can you see the hole?"
In heaven, it's bright like that, and it's so bright that the sun was shining on it, and there's never any dark. I saw my mom, and I saw the man. The man told me I had to go back, and my mom said she loved me, and then that's all I remember.
She said to me that Mom had been there with her when she was in the coma, encouraging her to come out of it. She was lying in bed, and she'd raise her little eyes up as far as she could, and she said, "They went that way. They went up." And I was going with them, and they stopped and said, "You can't go. You have to stay. It's not your time." And so she said, "I'm here, and they're in heaven." She just seemed so at peace with it, like Mom had gone off to work. And she knew where she was, no big deal.
So I think he just pulled back the veil and let her see a little bit of heaven to help her.
After 3.5 months, Ashley was finally able to go home. Nurse Amy Power was there during the difficult physical therapy process.
From a coma, we never see someone heal as fast as Ashley, appeared to. I mean, something was on her side. Someone was there to say, "Hey, this girl's got to be here, and we're going to make it the best we can."
4 years later, the best miracle of all is Ashley herself, a healthy, happy little girl. We arranged for a reunion with her nurse, Amy.
Ashley! Hi! How are you?
Hey.
Gosh, you're growing. Look at you.
To complete the reunion, therapist Karen Moore came back to visit Ashley.
Look how big you've gotten.
I know, she's grown.
I'm 8 years old. So excited to see you. Me too. You do. Mm-hmm.
Her leg's good. You can run like the wind, can't you?
Oh, yeah.
Ashley's a miracle child. She blessed me tremendously by being able to work with her. I have a very strong religious belief, but to have a small child take your blinders off is very humbling. She just was so positive. Heaven's there.
Yeah, but good thing I got to stay here. Or I wouldn't see my grandma or grandpa.
Many times when I cry, Ashley will pat me on my back and say, "Grandma, it's okay. Mom's in heaven and she's happy."
She's doing fine. She gives us nothing but joy.
She's our daughter.
Join us again next week when we'll bring you more fascinating stories that defy belief.
See you next time on It's a Miracle.